All right, what's going on, guys? It's the TechKnow Podcast. We're back. We're restarting the channel. There's almost zero chance that you've seen any of the other videos, but we did a couple episodes before when me and Liam were back in high school. And we're gonna unpublish those, restart it, try to be like somewhat consistent. The videos are gonna be pretty bad to begin with, like almost nothing on the video side, just audio. The goal is like every single time you want to improve a little bit, because frankly, me and him are both pretty busy, so we didn't want to spend too much on this one. We're both in college now, and so yeah, basically, if we do small things on every video, should be fine. This can be like episode 1. If you didn't know, this is just basically computer hardware or just like anything tech, anything we find interesting. We just talk about this stuff a lot, so might as well record it. So at the moment, big things are, because recording this on 10/7, the goal is to have it at least uploaded by this Sunday, I'd say. We just had Made by Google today, their event. They actually, funny thing, new name. They are now calling their ecosystem, like some people would like to say, Pixel Portfolio. Obviously, computer hardware is going to be a very exciting year. Most exciting year in a long time. We got Ryzen 7000, RTX 4000, Intel in dedicated GPU and 13th gen. New PSU standards, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff. So if we want to start out here, I think we just start with Made by Google because it's right today. Couple products announced. Obviously, 2 new phones, Pixel 7, Pixel 7 Pro, watch, tablet. Which one do you want to start out with?
Let's go for the watch.
Go for
I
the
know it
watch.
used to be kind of like the lacking part of like the Android ecosystem.
Dude, it definitely was. Samsung has been picking up recently, with them finally collaborating with Google, because normally they kind of fight.
Yeah.
But there's some suspect stuff. There's some funny quotes I have in here, because I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Google's marketing, especially for the watch. First thing is, so I forgot the girl's name that was on stage. Like, she wasn't bad at all, but I'm just saying some of the marketing riz was outrageous. Like, she said, "A watch is only useful when it's on your wrist." Now, how would you interpret that? It's just a stupid statement.
Like, so literal.
It is. And the funny thing is this watch is not going to be on your wrist often because the battery life is atrocious. So if you didn't know, the battery life is up to 24 hours. So it's definitely going to be less than 24 hours.
Oh, that's not. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And if I haven't actually seen if they put his official specs out, but I know coming up to it, basically new, it's going to be using a very old processor and maybe a co-processor. Don't know if that's still true. So I don't know. What do you think you'd buy a smartwatch? Haven't you had one before?
No, yeah, I used to have oh gosh, it's an old Galaxy one. I think it's the Galaxy Wear 2.
Yeah.
That was it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was really like the problem is like, well, I'm pretty sure Samsung is like stepped away from it now, but they had their own OS, their own like Wear OS, right? It wasn't Google's. So I mean, it worked fine because I had a Samsung phone, but like, I mean, I don't think I'd consider a smartwatch now. I feel like they
Really? Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan of the look, but I do get it. With this one, especially, you get a lot of Fitbit integration. They're making a big deal about the heart sensor. So, heart sensor scans at about 1 hertz, so 1 time every second. And it does that the entire time it's on your wrist, which is kind of neat. Design-wise, I know a lot of people love the design of this thing. I have a few gripes, but overall, I do think it's probably the best design. I actually really like Samsung's new ones, too. I'm not a big fan of, like, the filleted edges, making it just a very circular thing. Like, I like Samsung's more circle, but there's distinct edges. It makes it look a lot less bulbous, if that makes sense. Yeah. But the funniest thing about this was my favorite quote of probably the entire watch part. "The dome design makes the bezel feel seamless and fade away." Now, you want to know what's funny? The big thing that made every single Google, like anyone who cares about Made by Google stuff, mad, about the way this watch has been launched is one, the bezel is kind of big, and two, Google was kind of being shady about it. So if you didn't know, so you know how like obviously brands have different media accounts for different countries, right?
Yeah.
So like a Singapore one, a US one, blah blah blah. There was a couple countries, I know there's at least two versions, probably more, that had different size bezels in their pictures. So on the renders, they were resizing like the actual software image of the actual display
Yeah.
and making it look like the bezels were thinner. I know specifically their Singapore picture, the bezels were so much smaller than the US one. So how do you feel about that?
No, I feel like was this after? But this was this close to launch or no?
It's about a week ago, yeah.
Oh no, you can't even like disguise as like A/B testing for the bezel.
No,
You know what I mean?
it's
Like
not.
it's actually, but and they don't have different bezel size, so like it doesn't even like
Yep.
it's definitely whack.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy they're like back. It's just like the
Hmm.
Galaxy Watch and the Google Watch are like back now because I feel like it was dead for a while. It kind of sucks they're
It
using
definitely
they're
was.
still using Qualcomm, right? It's a Qualcomm old sensor.
I think I think it's maybe an old Qualcomm chip with the Samsung coprocessor. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe the other way around. I don't know. Uh but yeah, you'll see also like throughout this entire presentation, for a long time Google's one of those companies that doesn't really have an identity, if you know what I mean, right? Like we know what
Yeah.
Apple's about. We know what Samsung's about. Nobody knows what Google's about, bro. They'll create something and get rid of it. Like that's what they're about. Throughout this entire presentation, everything seemed very seamless and integrated. They don't do like a lot of the. They're trying to really push this whole ambient Google ecosystem. That actually the best video I've ever seen explaining was actually by David ML, who's I don't know exactly what he does, but he's part of the MKBHD team or Marquez Brownlee now.
Yeah.
Uh, he'll appear on the podcast sometimes, but he does something over there, and he made a great video on his personal channel about what Google's kind of reaching for ambient computing. I think probably a year or two ago now he made it. And there's a lot of stuff with like how they're trying to be more eco-friendly. So specifically on the watch, all the yarn on the straps are recycled. 80% of the stainless steel is recycled. Oh yeah, the watch is stainless steel. There's no other versions, just stainless steel. Uh, Trying to go carbon free by 2030, which is pretty cool. What's pretty neat is they've been carbon neutral since 2007, which a lot of people know because it's on the bottom of the Google search page. And if you look later in the phones, 100% of their aluminum recycled frame is aluminum frame is recycled, which is pretty neat. But yeah, more stuff with the watch. They're really trying to push it. So yeah, it's 6 months of Fitbit Premium, 3 months of YouTube Music Premium, which I don't know if that's bar none, because a lot of times when you get promotions like that, it's like as long as you haven't had it before. Hopefully it's bar none.
Yeah.
Fall detection
Yeah.
coming soon. And the weirdest part was emphasis on sleep tracking, which is like, oh, that makes perfect sense because it's Fitbit. But the thing that makes it weird is when are you charging your watch? Your battery life
No.
is bad. Like how is that gonna work? Like, is it one that watches that can charge pretty fast? So like it's supposed to be when you go in the shower, you dock it for a little bit, but still, that is kind of an issue. Their battery life, but for a first try, I think it's gonna be pretty good. I genuinely do.
No. Yeah.
Uh,
It's
nah, you go,
I
you go.
do like the sleep watch, the sleep tracking. That was like the one thing I did like about the old Samsung watch, right?
Mhm,
Because it's nice to see that heart like your heart rate too.
mhm.
Um, but no, yeah, I definitely understand because I knew it was like a struggle. Like sometimes like I always had my computer, so I had to like always like I had to remember to charge it. Like sometimes like when I'm sitting down at my computer, I'm like, oh, I have to come charge my watch now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I really do hope like that they implement some like smart like some either like Qualcomm quick charge or like the USB power delivery standards now.
Mhm.
so that you can actually get a charge. I know it's you're obviously not getting cable charging on that, so
Yeah, it's
it's
wireless.
it's going to be slow. Not slower, but slower compared to charging
It could be, yeah.
through cable.
Yep.
So,
Another thing, I don't know if you see that talking point right there. They
mhm.
did not really talk about third-party apps at all. Even this is the whole thing through the presentation, but for the watch one, they're like going through all the Google integrated stuff, right? Like YouTube Music, blah 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 blah. And at the end, they're like, they started just listing off other apps that work well with it initially. They didn't talk about them at all, which I thought is, it's kind of unfortunate when you think about it. And like a lot of people don't use only Google apps, partly because they kill everything. But
Mhm.
it's nice though that they're trying to build an identity. I think that's really important. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, they're trying to use like large data sets with AI, which is Google's entire thing basically when it comes to hardware, is using large data sets with AI to improve stuff. To kind of find uh, the error that you get from the heart tracking on your wrist through that photo sensor that most watches use. Like if you haven't noticed, like an Apple Watch is like extremely inaccurate, and most watches are. So they're trying to use AI and like huge data sets to kind of figure out how to make that super accurate by reducing the noise from the sensor. That's pretty neat. But watches retailing for what, $349 for Wi-Fi, $399 for Bluetooth. How do you think of those prices?
That's crazy. You're not gonna like. That's just like I mean, that's actually criminal. Those prices though. $400. You could definitely like. You could just buy so much other stuff with $400. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I will say smartwatches are pretty expensive though, but if you really think about it, like this thing's probably gonna be worse than the Apple Watch SE if I had to guess, and that thing's like
Oh, yeah.
$249. It is using
No, for
nicer
sure.
materials. It is a first generation product with a better design, but I don't think you're gonna get the battery life that the Apple Watch does, and I would be very surprised if they had all the bugs ironed out. I feel like
I
it's gonna
just
be a pretty shoddy product to begin with.
no. I just searched it up, and like the battery life is worse than the Samsung Watch 5, and the Watch 5 has a smaller like dimension size, like package size
Hmm.
than the Pixel does, the Pixel Watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually, I mean, that's probably its underselling point right there. That's probably gonna be a big turnoff for people, 24-hour battery life.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen when something is in development for so long, because you're going to start out like with hardware that makes sense for the day, and then 3 years later that hardware is way more inefficient than current stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen when you leave things in development for too long, because we've been getting like perfect renders of this for at least a year, and we've been getting leaks of this for a couple of years. So I remember when I bought my Pixel 4 XL, there was leaks of this. So we've been waiting. Uh, so moving on to the phones, which I think are probably going to be there. There's a curveball at the end for the Made by Google event, which could be a really good product. But overall, I think we all know that phones are going to be their bread and butter. I'm going to go ahead and list off some of these features, and then we can go through them. But 5 years of guaranteed security updates, lots of onboard processing, which we already knew. The middle cores are upgraded, so they do kind of a uh, with their design, which is with Samsung. They do, I think, like two X1 cores, so they're really fast cores, and then some of the A series, I think it was like 55 originally, maybe on the 65 now, and then bottom like low level efficient cores too. So the middle cores in that stack are upgraded. A funny thing was they they said we introduced car crash detection 3 years ago, and the entire crowd chuckled because it's obviously a shot at Apple. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Face unlock is back. Better voice recognition, wider range of keyboards, like keywords for like actions. Like when you say emojis, it's like very stringent what you say. Like you have to say the emoji's name. It's
Yeah.
better at finding a wide range. RCS, obviously, that was another shot at Apple. And business integration with pixel calls, which I think is probably the biggest wild card, because this is something where if businesses actually do this, it's kind of huge because you'll be able to like the demo they showed. If you've had a Pixel phone, you know those things can go on hold for you. But with this, if a business has integration with Pixel calls, they can upload their menu. Like when it says press 1 for this, press 2 for this, blah blah blah. Right? You can pull it up directly in the phone and press it. You don't have to hear a stupid robot talk to you slowly and
That's
explain it.
good.
Yeah, but like starting from the top, 5 years of guaranteed security updates. I think that's kind of disappointing. If you want to be the iPhone or Android, those have to be feature updates. You can't do
That's true.
just security for 5 years.
Do you know what the year like range is on feature or no?
Probably 3. Considering that the 3XL got stopped when the 6 Pro came out, and then the 4XL or the 4 series actually just stopped. So probably 3 for the feature updates. So they're going to be on Android 13. Probably be able to get up to Android 16. So,
That's true.
but
I feel like once we get to Android 16, I feel like feature updates aren't going to be a thing anymore.
really,
Like I hope so. Like in the way that I know they're trying to like
there's definitely less huge jumps than before, right?
no, yeah, but I know for a fact Google definitely has like two priorities like with the actual Android OS system, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to become more mainline, like what's they call it, upstream with the Linux kernel, right? So when the Linux kernel gets updated, that trickles down into um Android, right? Because like right now, like you know how like if you have a computer, right, you can download Linux,
Mm-hmm.
like technically, right, and you can just build it and it will work on the computer.
Yep.
Like not maybe not perfectly, but like it works. You can't do that with Android, even though Android is Linux,
Mm-hmm.
because there's some drivers that aren't upstream that aren't found like within the Linux kernel, so you actually have to get them separately. Like
Okay.
it's kind of weird, and so they're trying to do that, and then they're trying to also break up the Android OS so that it's easier to upgrade it. Because
Oh,
like how you mentioned, it's like
carpentum. Why can't I say this? Carpentumalize. I'm just
yeah,
struggling right now.
compartmentalize it. Yeah,
Yeah, that was bad too.
no, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
point. Like you said with the emojis, I know
Mm-hmm.
emojis used to be tied to OS version, and now they're less loosely tied to OS version because they're Google Play service updates
Oh,
instead
okay.
of OS updates.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do feel like I hope by like Android 15, right? Like we don't have like feature updates anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like you know that your phone like will get the Windows update. The same as like I have an HP laptop, right? And HP doesn't verify, like doesn't send me their own version of the Windows 11
Yeah,
kernel. You know
no,
what I
I
mean?
got
Like
you.
I just
Yeah.
get the updates. And then
Oh,
maybe
okay.
you're gonna, you know what I'm saying? And like
No,
the
I
feature
got you.
updates are coming from Google. Like you're like, oh, it's a new Android update instead of like, oh, Google or like Samsung finally pushed their feature update for the phone.
But is that going to work with something that's open source like Android? Because the big thing with Android is everyone has their own skin of it. Like Samsung still
Well,
has to one
yeah,
UI
that's
the
true. Yeah.
thing.
No, yeah, but then I hope at just some point like One UI is modular enough, right? Or like the Android kernel is modular enough that you can upgrade the underlying, and
Mm,
then you can still leave that One UI intact.
okay.
Like
No,
there's
that makes
no,
sense.
it won't break it.
Mm-hmm. No,
You
that.
can do the same thing with Windows, right? You can skin Windows like that. Like have your own like
Mm-hmm.
you can add back like the Windows 7 start menu or some shit if you or some stuff if you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and like you
But
doesn't
manufacturers
matter.
typically don't do that for you.
No, yeah, for sure, yeah. But then that's what I'm just hoping eventually in the future that we get that because I get you faster updates, security updates, and I mean that destroys like that's no longer like a selling point for Apple. It's like, oh, look at like we provide 5 years, 4 years, however X amount of years
Do they provide so
of feature
many? Like,
updates. No,
yeah.
they do. It's actually insane.
But yeah, no,
Like,
that would that'd be interesting. I mean, considering like I remember when I used to have a Samsung phone, dude, you had to wait so long. It's a lot
it
shorter
was
now, but
bad.
so long because not only did Samsung have to push it, your carrier had to push it. It was
That's true,
awful. I don't know if the
and that's why
carrier thing is still an issue, but you would
I
be able to
think it
speak
is.
more to that.
I have an unlocked phone like
Oh,
right now, but like I remember because I got it, I was like, oh, this is so much faster. Because like I had the when I had the 10, my S10, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
It
the S10 Plus, right?
Yeah, like that. I was waiting for the like One UI 3.1 update for so long because AT&T actually took forever to like update their version of Android on that. So
Oh,
like
okay.
the
Yeah.
unlocked version definitely helps, but then they just have to make that next big leap on
Hmm.
just updates. Like maybe in Samsung side, I don't know. We'll see
Yeah.
where it goes in a few years.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing they added: VPN, no extra cost. Uh, I don't think they're gonna bring this to older Pixels because they specifically said the number 7, but they're gonna include a VPN with Pixels, and they were right about all their points of why you need a VPN. I'd still argue you probably shouldn't use Google's VPN, uh, because they can have lots of trackers in it. Like there's not many VPNs that are actually good. Uh, the only like I use ExpressVPN personally, and it's great. I don't have to worry about data and stuff like you would have to with like Nord. I know Nord has a lot of issues with data and privacy.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like a VPN at no extra cost though is not bad because like even Express, like it's expensive. It's like $10-12 a month. So that's definitely something interesting. Uh, yeah, well, obviously face unlock that was a shock to me. You know why? Because everyone was talking about how they wanted face unlock on the Pixel 6. It was initially advertised basically of getting it, never did. And there's nothing different. Like why would it get it this year? So I hope that comes back towards the 6. I own a 6 Pro. Uh, Middle cores were upgraded, which is nice, but obviously this is not a huge upgrade processor side. RCS, obviously they said like they were hoping more companies could adopt it, which is funny because that's obviously straight at Apple.
It
uh,
definitely is, yeah.
Changing core layout, which is obviously the middle core, is 25% higher peak brightness. Now, this is something big. I know you don't struggle with this because you own Samsung phones and they just have amazing displays. But even though my display is made by Samsung, it's not that bright. And when I go outside in the morning, I can barely see anything. So higher peak brightness is nice. I don't know how much sustained brightness that's actually going to translate to, because peak and sustained are
No,
very
for sure.
different. Especially on
Yeah.
OLEDs, they're completely different. You can't even equate a peak to sustained in most situations. So hopefully that's better. But interestingly, they did not talk anything about normal performance, like speed day to day. They didn't say this is X amount faster than last year's processor in like rendering. They talked nothing about performance. So very interesting. They had a huge upgrade to the GPU reportedly, which is not surprising considering that the entire phone is centered around AI and ML. But I have a I have an opinion that I feel like is maybe popular, but probably not. I don't think phone speed matters anymore. I think they're fast enough. I think like if I can keep the
Okay.
same phone speed, maybe upgrade like 5% every year, but like gain more
Yeah.
efficiency, I'm gonna take it. How do you feel about that?
No, I definitely feel you, but I think slight counterpoint here. But I feel like performance, like increasing the speed of the phones, right,
Hmm.
is how you get your efficiency, if you know what I mean.
I no,
Like,
I
or
do know what you mean. Like when,
yeah.
but the thing is, then it's also up to the manufacturer. Do they want to err on the side of performance or efficiency? I'm not
Oh,
saying they
okay,
should
yeah.
stop making technological improvements. I'm just saying they should make those improvements and then scale back the wattage.
Oh, okay, I understand. Yeah, no, I agree with you. You're talking about
More
like
about
let's like
tuning in the end. Like you don't have to
yeah.
keep the
No,
same
no, okay.
wattage.
No, that's true. I understand. I understand what you're saying. Like phone, let the improvements in like CPU, like architecture, like nodes, like
Hmm.
carry you here instead of just pumping in more watts or like having some
Hmm.
type of like crazy power scaling or some stuff like that.
Yeah. And
No.
Android
uh,
specifically is so bad at like when's the last time you thought, dang, my Android's phone's battery is good enough? Like
I I don't even like the only good thing is is fast charging now. Fast charging now is actually like
Yeah.
I just got it, like, 'cause I used to just have like the 15-watt charger, and I have the 35.
Hmm.
So now it's not that big of a concern because like I can
You're on
charge
an
my phone.
S22 right now, right? Or
Yeah, and I
yeah.
come back. Yeah, it's 22 plus. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I come back in 30 minutes, and I mean you have 50-60% charge. So I feel like we're kind of going in like a reverse loop here if you think about it. Like when we first had the new like when Android phones first came out,
Hmm.
or like phones in general, right? It was like you had the removable battery,
Yeah.
so people just carry removable batteries, right?
Hot swap them.
And so you hot swap them, yeah. And so now, like, because they started sealing them for like whatever reason or for like waterproof reasons, right?
And right to
Which is
repair, obviously.
arguable. Yeah.
Waterproofing is definitely a nice side effect of it, but I don't think that's why they did it.
No, because I remember the S5, S6, you could take the back off, and that did have a waterproof rating on it.
The 6 was the one without it.
Yeah, then the 5, then yeah.
Yeah.
But then we went from that, and then we went to non-removable batteries, right? And now it's like it doesn't matter the battery life, because if you can charge your phone like this
Hmm.
amount like percent and X amount, like you could just charge it every once in a while, right?
Yeah, you can just like be like, oh, I'm back at home for a little bit. If you're
Yeah,
costume,
let me just go
plug it in
charge
for
it.
like 10
Yeah.
minutes while I go to the restroom. We're good. Yeah, that's definitely interesting, but that definitely has like its qualms of decreasing overall battery life. I don't think that matters too much in America because Americans upgrade their phones quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how the rest of the world thinks about it.
No, yeah. I feel like definitely like it, because I remember when I went to New York for vacation,
Hmm.
I still had my S10, but like it just like the battery life on that, like you'd get back, I'm like, am I gonna like is my battery gonna fucking die, or just
Yeah.
have to like worry about that? And like the S22 Plus, like it's a bit mitigated on it anymore. Like I really don't care. I've like they've done some tweaks. Android has some tweaks on it, right? Like some new battery
Hmm.
stuff. But I feel like definitely like if we want better battery life in Android, I feel like a good chunk of it will come from software, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know when you're gonna get it, but let me tell you, Android 13 is pretty great for battery life.
I
Uh,
heard, yeah.
Part of it could be that I had so there was a Pixel update that rolled out like right before Android 13, maybe a couple months before, that absolutely destroyed your battery life. Dude, my phone was like burning hot all the time through the case. Like it was
Insane.
crazy. And like I posted on Reddit and like someone just said fake news or something like that. I was like, this is outrageous. And like in like 2 weeks it just like fixed itself or something. I don't know, but it was really bad for a while, like really, really, really bad. Uh, but yeah, so that's interesting. I definitely they said there's a lot of rumors that this is going to be a much more efficient phone than the last series, which is good. It's not that much faster. Like I said, on the CPU side, it's mainly GPU improvements. So I'm glad they went that way. It's on a better node this time, though. So
Yeah.
hopefully they got that tuned. And also, like the last phone launched with so many software bugs that this one should not have, considering it's the exact same phone, basically, with the most minute tweaks. Uh, but you know, when you think Pixel, what's like the big thing you think about?
With Pixel, it's gotta be camera.
It's got to be camera, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, like every other year, they focus on the camera during the presentation a bunch. So there's a lot of stuff to run through. So camera, larger data sets for real tone, which real tone's like super important because it's one of those things where like, oh, are they just like catering to people or like marketing gimmick? No, real tone like actually works. It is crazy. Like I didn't notice it until I've actually seen it. How big of a difference like the way a phone renders like people of color skin versus how a Pixel does now. It is because like it's not like a DSLR where like someone after will go through, they know the color science, they're gonna fix it up because they shoot like raw, right? The phone
Yeah.
has to do it for you, and so real tone is huge. Guided frame, which was a super cool demo where like the phone's AI, right, would tell you how to move it to position a selfie because it's for blind people. Isn't that pretty neat?
That's actually
So it'd
pretty
be
good.
like
That's
move
crazy,
left,
yeah.
move up. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Tensor G2, which is their new processor. So they have a low light and movement denoiser. Uh, so I do have a gripe about this, but we'll see when the phone reviews come out if my gripe is warranted or not. My main thing was the last phone should have had great low light performance like previous phones, right? And it did. It was pretty good, but it wasn't a huge improvement, especially for the fact that they were using a crazy good sensor in it. The Sony GN1, which they put in this thing, is a remarkable sensor. Like, if you saw what that thing did initially when it first came out on a Vio phone, outrageously good. So we were expecting a lot. I'd say the biggest issue with the low light on the 6 series was shutter speed. So it would keep the shutter open super, super long. And like your phone makes all these little micro movements, right? Which doesn't really matter during day, but like at night you can imagine like how much softer that gets because you barely are getting any light to begin with.
No, yeah, for sure, yeah.
So that was a big issue, but they have like an algorithm to denoise it now. And they said it takes photos faster, though with pixels, taking the photos one part and then that split second rendering after is one part. So I don't know if its shutter speed is lower or if its algorithm is faster. One of the two. And the denoiser in daytime actually uses the ultra wide and the main lens and kind of cross references the images to create a new image. Photos, this is an insane feature. So, do you use a Google Photos app or do you use like Samsung's?
I use both actually.
Okay.
Like I'm on the web and stuff. I use the photos.
So, this is just on the Tensor G2, so the Pixel 7 series, which I thought was kind of weird. But there might be reasons. It is a lot faster during AI and ML tasks, which is what this is. There's this new photo unblur feature, which like if you go look it up, the results are kind of crazy. Obviously, we have to wait for third-party testing, but looks pretty promising. And most Pixel camera features have never missed. That's the one thing they're pretty good at. And Magic Eraser, which has been around, which is like, for example, if I take a shot of you like on the beach, right, the beach is gonna be full. Like you can't just move everyone out the way. So Magic Eraser allows you to like kind of go select those subjects and it'll kind of crop them out and fill in the colors. But so it can actually go in and do that to old photos from any device as long as they're on Google Photos and done on a Pixel 7.
Actually?
Yeah, so for example, you could log in on, I don't know, a Pixel 7, like say if I got one, and you could go through and unblur a bunch of photos, which I think is pretty neat.
Seen that. That is pretty good.
That's pretty cool. Added a cinematic mode, which I thought was pretty late, but finally. 10-bit HDR, which is huge. And the 10-bit HDR is actually going to be integrated straight into Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube, which I think is great. Better stabilization, better motion focus, better speech enhancement, which, by the way, speech enhancement on Pixels is fantastic. 4K 60 on all cameras. That's actually new because the selfie cameras did not have it on the 6 last year. And I think the 6 Pro was 4K 30. Pro level zoom, so they tried to make better zoom across magnifications. Like if you know how if you go take a picture and you're on the slider, right? There's going to be certain points where the picture looks a lot better because it's actually snapping into a focal length of a telephoto.
Yeah, versus it doing digital. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is using both the telephoto and the main to cross-reference images to give you a higher megapixel shot at different focal lengths. So they're going to have it's going to be perfect at 2x, 5x, and 10x. At all of those shots, you're going to get a full 12.5 megapixel shot. That should be very nice. And in the ones between, it will be a lot better than before, but obviously still not perfect. You can't have a perfect one without an actual moving lens. So that's pretty nice. And a wider ultra wide. I don't know if it's just the lens or the sensor's wider. If the sensor's wider, that's going to be great. Because a lot of people complained last year that the ultra wide on the Pixel 6 Pro and 6 was 0.7x. I don't know if you know what the typical one is. It's 0.5x. Like your phone definitely has a 0.5x.
No, I actually have 0.6.
Oh yeah, 0.6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most do. Most are wider than 0.7 at least. So 0.7 was kind of disappointing. So I hope That means it's an actual wider shot. But a big thing with it is we can finally get macro photography. A lot of people thought this was super niche. Like, you know what macro photography is, right? When they
Yeah.
like take pictures like raindrops on a leaf or something. So a lot of people thought this was super niche, but because it's macro photography so bad, people couldn't like do simple things like take pictures that are receipts. Like they would have to step away, zoom in, and take the picture. They couldn't get up close and take
Yeah.
it.
I don't, mhm.
So that was a big thing. Uh, Obviously, there's a big price delta between the 7 and 7 Pro. So it's weird because not only is the price delta the same, right? The phones actually got more similar because now the 7 has the same selfie camera as the 7 Pro, whereas the 6 did not. So
Okay.
that is making the 7 Pro an even worse buy than it was last year. uh, so that's going to be huge. But overall, what interests you out of those things we just listed out when it comes to the phones or the cameras?
Phones. This well, I want to see what this like higher zoom is like. Obviously, the camera. I think the camera competition between Samsung and Google's obviously like super interesting because it's the difference between hardware software. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Samsung is very much hardware. Like we have 100 times zoom on our
Yep. Space
camera,
zoom.
space zoom, and then Google's like, oh, well, you just have like actually the best software ever. I remember I used to have the when you used to what was it? You download the Google camera on your phone
Yeah. Yeah.
because it just had so much better like post processing.
Mhm.
I need to do some research on it, but I know Samsung was trying to do some stuff with like you know how you have an RGB value, right? Like
Mhm.
each pixel, they're trying to do WRGB, which was like they would sense the white in the pixel
For luminance levels, that's interesting.
for luminance, yeah. So, but I definitely like I always think it's interesting to see like the difference between what
Mhm.
hardware versus software gets you. 'Cause I knew for a while like Pixel didn't change the actual sensor.
No, they didn't.
You know what I'm talking about?
From the 2 all the way to the 4, because I had a 2 and I had a 4, did not have a 3. Specifically, I had a
Yeah,
2X on a 4XL. The sensor was the same.
but then I mean they were able to like just do some crazy stuff with just like
Mhm.
um software. So
I mean,
I'm
that's
interested to see how
why.
that goes.
Yeah, that's why the 6 Pro was so disappointing last year because they kept seemingly the same exact algorithm for this new sensor. And like I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The Sony GN1 sensor is crazy good. So I hope it's more tailor made this year. Uh, so that's going to be a big thing. I hope video improves. That's the one thing on Android that's always been worse than iPhone is video. A lot of that
That's
comes
true,
down
yeah.
to the strength of the post processing. Uh, for example, like what you're saying with Samsung. Actually, did you see iPhone finally went above 12 megapixel this year? They're at
I did see
48,
that.
which uh, I think is a great move because they did it right. They didn't go 48 and then go, oh, we have a 48 megapixel sensor, blah, 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 blah. That's so great. Because it's really not. Uh, it's going to give you a bit more detail, but realistically, all that matters is if for 4K, you get your 12 megapixel or 12.5 or whatever, and then you just post process it, and you also have a really high aperture. That's why iPhones can take great low light shots, right? But they don't have
Yeah.
that long shutter speed. They just take it. It's great. Uh, so that was a big thing, and they switched to 48. So I don't know if you know this. The iPhone can shoot 48 megapixel RAW.
Oh, okay.
So you can get a RAW file and then color and process it all after the fact, which is crazy if you think about it. On a
No,
phone, do you know how much data that is? You know how big of a file that's going to be?
no, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We definitely need to get some. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I'm actually, like I feel like the thing when you're talking about megapixels is like that buzzword when it comes to
And
cameras.
you know whose fault that is? Samsung and LG's.
It is
When they did the
Samsung's, yeah.
megapixel race, like Samsung right now is on like 108. Like,
Yeah, but
bro,
I think
what?
they realize now they're just like there's no point of bumping it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just other factors, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna actually, like, if I
Yeah.
just tell you 108 versus what 120, I'm not gonna be like, wow,
My
such a
opinion
good
is,
difference.
as long as you're shooting the right resolution and you have enough megapixels, you want as much aperture as possible. Just get as much light hitting that sensor as possible, so your shutter speed is super fast, your nighttime is super good. That's what I care about.
No, for sure, that's definitely it.
But the interesting is, I don't know if their current one is, but I know they're switching soon. Their 108 megapixel is going to be proprietary. It's going to be in-house. Not proprietary, I shouldn't say, because they might sell it to other people. But it's going to be an in-house sensor design, which is pretty interesting.
Good for Samsung, right? You said.
Yep.
Or
Yep. So
good
that's
stuff.
pretty interesting. So basically with the phones overall, very small improvement, very fine tuning though. Hopefully, like I know you haven't used a Pixel before, but they're normally pretty well tuned. But last year was kind of atrocious. So hopefully they tune them well. We get that efficiency back. I was thinking about upgrading. I think at the end it would have been like $130 because there's like a $545 promo trade in plus 200 back and a gift card. But I don't know if I'll do it.
No, I definitely just wait an extra phone version.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it for the phones. You got any final thoughts on those things?
Nope, really. I just want to see. I'm guessing there's been no
Actually,
like
here's my question. What would you
reviews. Okay.
take you to switch to a Pixel?
Fuck, Pixel. See, I honestly, I used to have like with the Samsung phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what it is? I think one of the key points is the phone link. If phone link like worked as good as it did on Samsung, the Windows phone link, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Samsung as it did with Pixel, I it'd be a bit more fuzzy the line between the two
Really?
for
Do you
me.
actually use phone link that much?
I use phone like a lot. Like I copy paste
Really?
stuff phone to like computer and like it images texting. I know it can do texting.
I
Like
haven't
texting's
even
pretty
downloaded
basic
the
stuff.
app. Well, I use
I
Google
like it a
Messages
lot.
for
Yeah.
web. So I
That's
can
true, yeah.
text, but mine's to the web, but I get it with the copy and pasting that could actually be huge. I'm not too
That's
big
true, yeah.
of a I'm not too big on the files thing because well, do you transfer files from your phone directly to your computer?
Images. I do images sometimes
You
if I
do
need
images
something.
sometimes.
Or if I take a picture, like someone sends me an image, right? I can just pop it
Mhm.
open on my computer without having to like save.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
That's
mean?
that's
Yeah.
pretty neat. So, yeah, most of my school stuff I just use directly OneDrive for files. So, but
Oh no, I do OneDrive too. Yeah.
yeah,
It's no OneDrive is really good.
overall though, no, I
But
can definitely see your use case for phone link.
yeah.
So with Windows and Android getting closer and closer every year, you think there might be a point where you switch over? I know you've been on Samsung for a while though. It's gonna
No,
be
I
hard.
know.
It's
There
gonna be hard to
might
convince
like
you. But to be
if there
fair, they're
really
closer
is.
than ever right now,
No,
like
they are
feel
because
wise.
there definitely is. Remember the one thing too with Samsung Pay, I was like, oh, Samsung Pay any day, right?
Oh,
And like
because
now I use Google Pay, right?
dude, Samsung botched that. Getting
They
rid
did
of
botch
the
that.
magnetic, the way they imitated magnetic fields to make Samsung Pay work almost everywhere was crazy. That's the one thing that made
Oh,
it the best payment app. And now Google Pay is because it's the most secure. Uh, but yeah, that's no, that's. I mean, you also use a skin version of Android though. You don't use uh One UI. Don't you use like Action or
I use
Nova?
Action Launcher, yeah.
You use Action now. Yeah,
I do, yeah.
dude, that reminds me of my childhood. The fact that you still use Action is kind of baffling to me.
I
Not
know.
that
I
it's
just
bad.
like
It's just that at one point it just stopped caring.
I know I had it tuned like to what I liked it, right?
hmm
That like I was like, there's no point. Like I really don't want like remember like, when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do like 50 million things to my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
And
that's
like
what I
now
was
I'm just
like too.
like, the thing is like I stuck with Action and I just had it like working the way I wanted. I had like all the like my transparency settings, like everything I had like good. I don't want to like switch back to One UI
I
or like
gotcha.
anything else, right? You know what I mean?
No, I
Also, One
understand.
UI, like they're also more restrictive. Like I have like a black I have like a white icon
Pack.
pack, right?
hmm
And like to do that on One UI, I have to go into the Samsung store, the
Yeah, you
theme
can
store,
upload your own.
right?
Really?
odd pack, yeah. And you'd like apply it to the whole, like it's very different, the like theme process or like the icon process
Mm-hmm.
on One UI than it is on any other launcher.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, that
Also, scared from TouchWiz, bro. TouchWiz was not.
TouchWiz was the worst thing ever. Dude,
Yeah.
TouchWiz and Samsung Experience. Samsung Experience was much better. I had
No, yeah,
TouchWiz also. One of the worst things known to man.
it was. It was so
When
bad.
did TouchWiz end? Was it on the 9 into the 10? Then it became Samsung
Was it?
Experience, right? And then it became
Okay, Android. No. Android 7 was Samsung Experience
so what, 6, no,
with the
5 phones
S7.
ago?
S7. Yep. Okay,
Oh,
the
so it was a
S7.
7 into, no, that makes sense cuz
One UI was Android 9. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, dude, they skipped over Samsung Experience fast.
Yeah, but if really like skin wise, there wasn't a big difference
There
between
wasn't at
like the
all.
first One UI.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they changed it. I think they just
The way
like
they make it sound makes it sound like they're going to use that user interface for everything, right? But they don't, because like on their TVs and I think their smart appliances, they use Tizen. No, they might use One UI on fridge. I don't know. I know everyone like it has fun with their Samsung smart fridge though, like as a meme. But on the TVs, it's Tizen.
I
So
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
so I don't know. Uh, but yeah, no, we'll see in the future what we can do. I'm gonna find a way to get you hooked on a Pixel one time.
Okay.
But the issue is there's no point in getting a Pixel if you're gonna skate it. Like the whole point is that very raw Android experience.
That's true. Yeah. Because I
Uh
do like the pixel stuff on like
oh
the
dude,
theming and stuff is very good.
Material U, yeah. The more they expand Material U, the better. Uh, but dude, I don't think I'd ever be able to switch off a Pixel. Like, bro, not getting spam calls, chef's kiss. Literally never get spam calls. My phone blocks so many calls. It's great. I love the AIs on Pixels. They just do your job for you. uh, but yeah, like that's pretty much it for the phones. Like I said, not a big difference, but a lot of small stuff. It seems like they're really finding their identity. They're going to keep on nicking away, making things a little bit better, like how iPhone does, like a little bit better and a little bit more polished every year. That's their goal. Uh, Pixel tablet, very weird product. It's also going to use the Tensor G2. They literally, like, you can see how many points I have in this doc, right? They said nothing about it. There's like, it's just an enigma. So they said it works seamlessly with like the rest of your Pixel stuff, whatever that means. Material U, obviously, and have you seen like Nest hubs before? Those Google Smart Home
Yeah.
hubs. So this thing has a charging speaker dock that makes it look exactly like a Nest hub, which I think is pretty cool. Because they did research and they said 80% of people never take their tablet out of their house. And then a lot of people keep their tablet in like a drawer or something, which they didn't want. They wanted to be like kind of a statement piece, right?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. But that being said, when they say something like works seamlessly, or no, when they do something like this, right? It makes you think, how close to a Nest Hub can it get? Because don't Nest Hubs not run on Android? Don't they run on like that new?
Google OS or something.
No, they
Yeah.
run a Fuchsia
Oh,
OS.
Fuchsia?
Yeah,
Oh, they did. You're right. They did switch to Fuchsia.
yeah. Like I remember it was a big thing. Like there was a lot of like people clickbaiting saying, "Oh, is Fuchsia OS gonna be the replacement to Android?" Blah blah. No, it was like kind of like just a low level OS for things on the side. So what is the point of having both? I can see having one or the other. Like as a consumer, not as Google. I can get the point as Google of having both, right? Because a lot of people don't own tablets. Uh,
That's true.
but like as a consumer, why would you want both? Unless if you have multiple locations to put it in, which again, fair play. So I think that's gonna be a really weird product. Honestly, don't think it's gonna be that popular, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those products that Google kills. Uh, if I'm being completely honest.
That's true. I could see this as something like my grandparents would have. Like you have the tablet, right?
Hmm.
And when you're not using it, it's like a clock.
No, yeah.
Like that's but besides that, like I don't think anyone is like young people are like, yeah, let me just dock my tablet for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
I mean, it would be a high quality speaker, but no, I get what you're
Sure,
saying. The one thing that will, in my opinion, that will be good that comes out of this is just better framework for Android stuff on tablets,
no, for
which
sure, especially
hopefully
with
will
the
bleed
L
into
versions. Yeah.
Samsung because they have to do a lot of work on Android to get their tablets to work because Android is not that favorable for tablets. So
No, yeah.
hopefully, I know Google talked a lot about just working with developers, doing their own job to make the tablet experience of stock Android better. And I hope this is an overall positive for the tablet for Android industry because it kind of sucks, to be honest. Because quite frankly, I can't see this product lasting many generations.
They definitely need to come out like banging with these iPad or with the tablets that compete with an iPad.
They didn't even announce a
Like,
pen or a keyboard.
oh, they're still using the old pen
No,
technology they
they're just
had.
like when I say they announced nothing, this is all they announced about it. That is all of the stuff. There was nothing to the announcement. It was so weird. They talked like for a long time about their new nano texture ceramic powder coating process to get the cool feeling back. So yeah, it's gonna be bad probably if I had to guess.
Yeah. I know Samsung's making some headway with their tablets, the
Hmm.
S8,
Yeah,
which I don't know why it's called an S8 though. That's honestly
yeah,
a
that's
dumb
very
idea,
confusing because a lot of they
but
expect people to call it Tab S8, but like just shorten it.
no, it's called yeah.
Just why couldn't it be just called like a T8 like or something?
That made so much more sense. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they want the S for like
I mean,
the
they
top.
have
You know
a
what I mean? Yeah.
huge. No, I get that. They have huge screens now, though. Their biggest tab is now like 14 plus inches.
14.6. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, and it's also like a very wide aspect ratio. Like that thing, dude. That thing from Moot. Like I've used it because you know where I work. Uh,
Yeah.
that thing for like viewing content, insane. Like it because it's a Samsung AMOLED screen, super bright, super large. Like it's fantastic for viewing content. Uh, but overall utility, iPads are so fast now, dude. Like the fact that the M1 is in the normal iPad Air, which retails for like $499, is outrageous.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard to beat that. Obviously, you don't need that much speed, but it's nice because you also know you're gonna get updates forever on an iPad. Uh, and the Apple Pencil is just better than the Galaxy Pencil, whatever they call it.
That's true. Yeah. I don't even S Pen probably honestly.
No, it is the S Pen. You're right. You can tell how much I've been removed from Samsung products.
No, I honestly don't even pay attention to the tablets.
Honestly, in recent memory, like how I just love TVs now. Like that's my big thing now.
Yeah.
I don't pay much attention to Samsung electronics in general. I pay attention a lot to their like other companies, like especially like their fabs and their memory and their display company. But Samsung Electronics,
Yeah.
I don't really pay much attention to them. More than the average person, but not nearly as much as I used to.
I feel like Samsung Electronics really is like, well, for mobile for phones. I mean, that's honestly you're like the forefront of Samsung or like Android. Like when someone
Oh yeah.
thinks Android phone, you know what I mean?
And the thing is, a lot of people aren't talking about it enough. Like I know some reviewers did. The Samsung phones this year were excellent. Like they were so well tuned out of the box. It wasn't that chunky Android experience that a lot of people associate. They were really, really good out of the box software wise. Like they really felt more like the iPhone of Android than Google did this year. When I say
Yeah,
this year, I meant
that's
last year's releases. You get my point. It was
yeah.
it was great. They were amazing. Uh, but leading into that, we're gonna jump down a bit here. See all those YouTubers exposing Samsung about the spicy pillows that their batteries become?
That's true. But did you see there's also apparently it's also just not like Samsung apparently like it's actually just like a lithium ion battery at the same time.
Is it?
Like it's
Because a
very
lot of
like
people said the
controversial.
only. I know it's very controversial because there's gonna have to be a lot more people that come out with their data. But a lot of I've seen a lot of people just say it's just their Samsung phones. Actually, when I went back home last weekend, I checked up on mine because I still have one laying around. It was a little pillowed. I was like,
Actually,
that's
damn.
not, dude.
Oh, I
And
need to
this,
turn on my S10.
dude,
Yeah.
and this, that phone is an S8. You know how many phones I've had after that phone? Like 4 or 3.
That's true. Yeah.
I have
No,
not turned that thing on in forever.
I think that's the problem because
Yeah.
it's such like a because I was reading on it on reading up on Reddit about it, and like I remember I first saw that news, I was like, this can't be happening again. Like this is,
Yeah.
you know, but like I know because a lot of times like you have people they're like I think, but they want it to be Samsung. Not that they don't want it to be, but you know the reputation Samsung has, right? And
Hmm.
so they're more likely to be like, oh, my Samsung phone's doing this. But
Yeah.
apparently that's actually like a lithium, like maybe I'm not saying it's not all Samsung's fault because maybe like those phones probably did have
Well,
because the
Samsung
notes were blowing
produces
up
a
back
lot of
then.
batteries for a lot of other
That's true.
companies.
But if the Samsung like those notes were blowing up, right, there's probably something slightly wrong with like the older S8s, S7s, right?
Oh,
But
this isn't close to
like
the note level problem. The note problem was
it
crazy.
was bad. What I'm saying is like if the note problem was blowing up, right, those phones around that time period probably also had some slight defect. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Well, do you know what the note problem actually was?
I honestly I forgot.
They
Like
they
it's
didn't
out of my
leave
brain.
ample space. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
this is
for the yeah, no, you're
for the
right. You're
batteries
right.
expanding and shrinking. So when they actually re-released the Note, remember because that's when they started fan editions, the FEs. They re-released
Oh
that
yeah,
Note as a fan edition on a super small run. Everything was the same except they nerfed the battery capacity, and it was perfectly fine.
that's true. You are right about that. No, but apparently that's like a lithium ion. Like that's like a
Yeah, because you don't want to
thing. Yeah,
store it at 100% full capacity, and you don't want to store it at 50 like 0% full capacity.
I
You
think
want to
it's
be like somewhere in
2080
the
is the range.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why mine didn't pillow a bunch. Now mine's not pillowing enough to even like take the glass off the frame, even though my glass is shattered. But like I
Uh-huh.
had to look closely to see mine, so I think I'm fine.
But I think at that
But I
point
should
you should.
probably deal with this by the end of the
Yeah,
year.
that's true. But I think that's why they tell you like when you have old phones like that, you need to turn them on every once in a while and like
Hmm.
actually like let the current like run through the battery
Yep.
and like give it a charge through. I
Hmm.
think that's the problem with the lithium ion batteries. Like when sometimes like you run the risk of them pillowing if you just leave a phone somewhere without turning it on for a while.
Hmm. A lot of
Obviously,
it
I
can
don't know
also
that much about
be
the lithium ion.
where you store it too.
Oh, that's true.
Lithium
Yeah.
ions should not be stored in like warm and humid locations, like most technology devices. But yeah, uh, so that was pretty interesting. But another thing that's happening on Android, we've been over 2 Android products recently. AV1 encoding or decoding, both, mainly decoding, obviously,
Yeah.
is going to be required for Android 14. It's going to be in the manifest.
I know this is gonna be crazy,
Thoughts?
honestly. No, this is actually really big. Like I
For reference, we're on
this
Android 13 right now, so that's going to be
that's
next
true.
year
Yeah.
around September.
I know usually most phones because I think they were also pissed at Qualcomm because Qualcomm was like we're not doing AV1, right? And
They actually
then
say that? That's
they
outrageous.
basically like with their either the one they just released or the year before, right? They're like everyone was pushing AV1 at that point,
Hmm.
and then they're like, we're not putting AV1 on the chips. And then now, like, I mean, you're gonna get not you're gonna get bad battery life, but like you're really gonna be lagging behind.
Hmm.
Um, because I think what Android phones used to use was VP8 or VP9. And
Really?
AV1 actually, yeah, like most phones, like I'm pretty sure Qualcomm phones used VP8 or VP9
Okay.
because that was the last open standard by Google, right? And
Hmm.
so AV1's obviously the new open standard.
Hmm.
And so we'll see like AV1 should, I don't know about battery life. I know it's slightly rumored that it can help with battery life, right? I know for the
Hmm.
G14 apparently the 6900 at HS, right?
Hmm.
Did like 5 hours better than the 5900 for the G14.
Yep.
But then whether
The
you
laptop.
say that, yeah, the laptop, but whether that's for just some other factors or not, right?
Hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah,
But
no.
Google
For
definitely does have incentive. Yeah.
Yep, for anyone who doesn't know what AV1 is, it's an encoder. It's a video encoding format. It is so much better than the current formats that everyone uses. I think you're gonna see it a lot this towards the end of this year because Intel Arc and RTX 4000 from NVIDIA, they're both graphics cards, have encoders and decoders dedicated for that. But it can do basically the same quality, so the same bit rate, right? Like visual quality also. It's 60% less internet usage. So that's like for a lot of people, that's huge. Because like if you're ever in a place, like think about it, you're somewhere, right? And your YouTube autos to 720, you put it at 1080, can't do 1080, right? If you're on AV1, you can do 1080. So that's gonna be huge, you know what I mean?
No, it definitely is. Yeah.
So, that's going to be pretty big. I'm glad Google's requiring it. I like Google being more hands-on to get stuff done when
I
it
feel
comes
like
to
it's
Android.
True.
Another thing Google did, Stadia's gone. Shock. Wow. I almost want to say I don't care, but I'm kind of sad because Stadia was actually better than any other option when it came to quality and technology. It was actually had better technology and quality behind it than GeForce Now. So that's gonna suck. That's gone. Also, this could potentially produce a lot of e-waste. I know a lot of people are pushing for Google to push
true. The
normal,
remote, yeah.
normal Bluetooth firmware to the remote, so that won't happen. Google's offering full refunds though, which is nice. Not for the subscription, obviously, but like for hardware, so the remote, and for the games purchased, which is kind of huge. And everyone is losing their save files. So if you decided to play a game on Stadia and you played it a bunch, sucks. All your stuff is gone. And you know what's the worst part about Google doing this, right? Like, what would you say is the worst outcome of this?
Worst outcome. I mean, it's definitely it's gotta be for the end user. It's the people that like actually legitimately like invested into the ecosystem, right? For it to be
I think the
dropped.
devs are going to get shafted because the devs were not told until they saw the announcement in the media. They were actively working on this.
Actually?
Yes. There was a dev that came out on Reddit saying he was actively working on it. He made an entire game and a port for it. He finished, and Google told him some bugs, and then in 3 days he ironed out the bugs or something like that, right? And then he wakes up and it's gone. Stadia's gone.
It's actually crazy.
Like, he was obviously still able to put it there because like they're not gone until like 2023, but it was like his entire like 4, 5, 6, 7 months of work gone just like that. So that's gonna be a big issue. Another big thing is this is once again another thing that nails the coffin of don't trust Google. Which is a big issue because sometimes Google makes a great product and they don't get enough traction to begin with. And I don't know if it's because the higher ups don't understand how anything works, because Google lives in this world where they make the absolute craziest amount of money and headroom from their AdSense. They don't understand that not everything can be 10 million% profit margin. That they just cancel so many things. Like, if you really think about it, Google could probably cut back spending by like 70% and maintain 80-90% of their revenue, don't you think?
Definitely. They definitely spent a lot to try to innovate, I feel like, when it kind of just wasted money on their part.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's not wasted. It's just that they have I feel like they have unreasonable expectations for profit margins because they are an AdSense company. They pay people to make links or like to make really good ad trackers and whatnot, right? And really good targeted ads. And they just get so much money out of it that they feel like everything else is worthless. When realistically, like as we've seen, if someone comes by and messes up this AdSense revenue, that could be devastating. So I think them keep on pulling stuff like this is really, really bad. Like really bad. I don't know about you, but I feel like Google's made some great products which they've killed. I know me and you both used Allo, if you remember that.
Yeah,
In like middle school, we both used Allo.
And Hangouts too, yeah.
Hangouts, yep. What do you think? What's the best Google? Anything, honestly, anything that Google's killed that you used. And if you say Google Plus, we're ending this.
Dude, I used to be obsessed with Google Plus as a kid.
Really? I know you actually did use it. I didn't.
It definitely is Hangouts. Like I feel like you could ask anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be Hangouts for them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, let me see.
I think
The thing is,
Hangout. No,
there's so much.
I think I'd agree. I think Hangouts. What's that one website like killedbygoogle.com or whatever?
Yeah, killed by Google. Yep, just pulled it up.
It's just so many things. Dude, there's 274 items. It's crazy.
YouTube originals.
Yeah, that was crazy. The fact that they killed that. Hangouts November 2022. Oh wow, that's like in 2 months. You have 2 months to enjoy it.
Angular JS. I didn't even realize that.
Honestly, you know what's something that I'm glad died? Android Auto for phone screens. When I plugged in my phone and that turned on, I got pissed every single time. So I'm fine that's dead.
Yeah. Some people liked it, but I'm like, I don't know why.
I hated it.
Yeah.
If I want Android Auto, I'm gonna go get a head unit. I don't want my phone to be less functional because I know I get it. It's a safety thing, but like, I can like I know the locations of things on the Spotify app. Like, and you made me retrain my brain because you decided to make buttons bigger. Like, I know I didn't like
Google
it.
Cardboard.
Yeah, that's dying soon.
It's already dead.
Oh, it's already dead. Oh, that sucks.
Oh, Google Play Music. That I think is also
no. I am taking it back. Google Play Music is the biggest one. God, and YouTube Music sucks.
I know, but I couldn't even transfer my stuff over. I was trying to, and it just would not let me do it.
Have you looked into? I know back in like middle school, we used Google Play Music all the time because you could access it on the computers on your school account.
That was actually crazy.
And the shuffle was so good at training what you like, because with the likes and dislikes, like that, eventually you would be getting just fire playlists without paying anything. It was great. But if you didn't know, YouTube Music is just awful. So actually,
I don't like it. I tried.
We both take comp sci classes, so this is gonna be really funny, right? Did you know? I don't know if they changed it yet, but like at least it was a thing a month ago. If you hit shuffle on a playlist on YouTube Music, do you know what happens?
No.
It's the same shuffle every time.
You know what? No, you're actually right. You are right. I had like these mixes pop up. I'm like, I'll shuffle the mix. I've not heard like a new song in like forever on YouTube Music.
It's outrageous. Like me and you both know how trivial it would be to fix that. Think about the people that are there. They could fix that in an afternoon. Like, why is that an issue still? How old is YouTube Music, bro? It's been around for years.
No, definitely.
Also, YouTube Music streams in awful quality, if you didn't know, compared to other platforms. Like, it doesn't have to be like Cubase. It doesn't have to be just the most perfect audio. But at least be like Spotify level. Like, but it streams in awful quality. Playlists are awful. At least you can get it like priced fairly, I guess, with the YouTube subscription. I know, like specifically Linus, everyone knows Linus. He complains a lot about how much worse the Sonos integration is, like streaming. So that's a big thing. The UI, terrible. And you know what's the worst part? It's forced to be on a Pixel phone. I can't uninstall it. I don't know if you can, but I can't.
Let me see. I'll check real quick. YouTube Music. I don't have it. Yeah.
Oh, you're one lucky guy. Let me tell you. It takes up one space on my phone, and I don't know if you've seen my phone recently. I try to keep nothing on there. That's part of the reason why I have a Pixel.
I need to go through the bloatware thing. Like that those people that like have the files for like or like the scripts to go to bloatware. I need that.
But yeah, no, YouTube. I think we can both agree that Google Music is just an absolute L. Like, why would you ever kill that? I get the rebrand, right? Because YouTube is such a big brand.
Rebrand would have made sense, but
But why did you switch everything about it when it was so good? The UI was so simple. Everything about it was beautiful. Not beautiful as in it looked beautiful, as in it just made sense. There's something about the intuitive, like just super simple blocky design that it had that I loved. So nice. I know a lot of people are pissed about Hire by Google. Google's Photos print, that's gone. They killed it in under a year, 5 months. They killed it in 5 months. That's outrageous.
It's actually bonkers.
Yeah, dude, they need to be stopped. Google Fiber TV's dead. Good, that thing sucked. Not Fiber TV for clarification. Fiber's obviously amazing. By the way, I'm probably switching to Gateway Fiber by my house. It won't really matter because I'm never home, but they're
I think my dad's also considering.
Dude, gig symmetrical for like 89. Hell yeah. No, it's not like 89. It's probably like 100, but it's worth it. A gig symmetrical is crazy. They also say they include a mesh router in the box. I don't know if it's a good one. Probably not, but yeah. But yeah, Stadia dying, massive L. I think we can both agree Hangouts and YouTube Music were the last big ones that died that people
That's true, yeah.
actually cared about. I think if there was a curveball for me, it would be Allo, because I thought Allo was going to be the closest thing we would ever get to iMessage. In fact, I thought it was better than iMessage at the time.
True.
Yeah, so that's gone. Dude, Allo was so fun, dude. Like, there were so many funky things you could do on there, especially if you both of you had Allo. It was great. And it didn't punish people for not having Allo on the other side, like some people do. Other news, Elon finally agreed to buy Twitter.
He also he got forced to. Yeah.
He was probably going to get his hand forced to, but like I wasn't.
Well, no, he went to court over it. Like they actually went to court, and then the judge
I don't
was
think
like,
did the judge rule
for not knowing about the bots. Well, I don't know if he ruled. I think it got to the point where like he knew the judge was going to say
that's what I'm
he has
saying.
to buy
His
it.
hand got forced. I honestly thought he was gonna try to get the price lower, but still buy it. That's what I thought he was going for, which is might be what he was going for. Micron planning to open a plant in Syracuse, New York. That's huge, up to 9K jobs. If you didn't know, America's making a big push to get a lot of these semiconductor plants because
yes, sir.
We all saw what happened during the big cough. So that was a crazy time to be alive if you looked at pricing and cars and everything. And I'm glad that we're getting. I thought Syracuse was a weird area because most their things are in Idaho from what I've heard. So quite a ways away, but that's pretty cool. Speaking of YouTube Music earlier and how we both don't like that, I don't think you're going to like this. YouTube is testing for certain users, their typical beta runs.
Oh, yeah.
Hiding 4K, so the 4K streaming quality behind a paywall. So YouTube Premium. How do you feel about that?
That's crazy. It kind of sucks. Like, I understand why they're doing it, but I know they do have like storage wise, they do have to they want to lower their costs, right? Because I don't think
it's not about lowering costs. I think it's about increasing revenue.
That's true, but you can also do that because when you're you're obviously gonna get people to pay you, right? But then you're gonna decrease the amount of people that just use 4K. Like I use 4K without even a 1080 screen, right? Just because of the bit rate.
Oh, you mean decrease ongoing costs, not storage costs? Because you said storage.
Yeah, that's true. No, yeah, my bad. Yeah, because you're gonna have the 4K there. I mean, you're talking about bandwidth, right?
Yeah, if you're decreasing bandwidth could be huge. So yeah, like you said, I kind of get it, but obviously I'm not happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering every year that goes by, more and more people have access to something they can actually watch 4K content on.
That's true.
So them getting rid of it now just feels like a slap in the face. Like you kept it for so many years when nobody was using it. And now you get rid of it is kind of an L. So you know. Uh, but I kind of get it. I normally always pick the 4K option, especially because at my apartment I have crazy internet and it has a higher bit rate anyways. If my phone downscales it, whatever. But yeah, but as long as 1440p and 1080, I mean 1080 obviously, as long as 1440p stays and they don't lock like 60 FPS behind a paywall and they fix HDR, I don't think people will be too mad. But I think it's kind of intrusive how many things they're trying to. YouTube's supposed to be a fairly open platform, so it's kind of interesting. Then again, this is only beta, but it's one of those things where, like, how companies like push right until people get mad, right? And then stop pushing,
yeah, for sure.
And then come back like a year later and then push some more.
That's how it always works. That's yeah.
Yep. So I don't know about you, but I feel like in a couple years I'm gonna be pissed about it, but it's not on my account right now for the beta, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't think it was on mine either. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing, like when we're talking about just general world news, this is something that I think we might not agree on everything, but I think we both have the overall same idea, is the EU finally passing that every smartphone sold in the EU has to have USB-C by the end of 2024.
Sure.
Huge,
I do
right?
think that is huge. I do like that. At first, I was kind of wary of it. I was like,
it's a scary precedent to set.
It is a scary precedent. But they are going to review it in 2024, I think, or 2025, and they're going to have like cycles of review.
Oh, I got
it. Which I feel like, because that's what I was worried about. They were like, oh, standard rate, and then you don't touch it. So what's gonna happen is that USB stays stagnant, and like, what if you have like a new standard, like let's say Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt's an extension of USB, right?
Thunderbolt will be so hard to put. Well, USB is just a connector. They can put Thunderbolt in a phone if they want.
Yeah, that's true. But like,
USB-C is just a physical thing, and Thunderbolt will be so hard to put on a phone because Thunderbolt like switches, like the actual hardware, are hot. They get hot. But
yeah,
no,
but like,
I get it.
like you have a new type of standard that comes out, and then it doesn't get updated. But like, I like the review that they're doing with this. But I think this is really gonna push Apple to wireless charging, like only wireless charging.
No, they have to have a USB-C, I think.
Well, I mean, if you don't have a port, you can't.
No, I think they're gonna have to do it.
They loophole. I think they might have loopholed it. I think they
could
closed that
loophole
loophole.
it.
Yeah.
But the question is, Apple being the spiteful bunch that they are, do you think they do USB-C everywhere, or do you think they make two models like they did this year for a certain iPhone? Do you know about that?
Oh, there's slightly. Just
they got rid of the SIM slot for at least America, but the international version has the SIM slot. So in America, it's just eSIM, which, working with phones, I can tell you, it's kind of a huge L. eSIM is great sometimes, and it's awful sometimes. Anything that's software can sometimes be the worst thing to deal with. When I'm able to just put in a physical SIM card, it's chill. But the worst part is, if you tear down the iPhone, right? In the US versions, guess what's in place of that SIM slot on the PCB?
What was?
Just take a guess. It's a very just like simple answer. Don't think too hard about it.
Oh, I don't even fucking know, honestly.
I was expecting you to say nothing, but instead of nothing, it's just a plastic spacer. They wait. You know how like phones, the whole thing is, oh, we don't have enough space for this. That's why we can't put this and that and that and that. They have just a plastic square in there in the way.
You can't even excuse that.
Like, it's outrageous the things that these guys get rid of because they honestly just have a herd of sheep always. But it's crazy, dude. So I honestly, I was telling my roommates this the other day, would not be surprised if the iPhone has USB-C in the EU and then they completely shaft America and other places and stick to Lightning.
Yeah, that's honestly, I could see that happening.
Do you think, though, so the big thing what people don't understand about Lightning is when everyone hates on Lightning, it's not because Lightning did not have a purpose. Lightning was so great when it first came out. It was reversible, it was relatively fast, it was durable, but it sucks now. It's terrible. You can transfer files wirelessly from a phone faster than wired. That's a big issue.
Oh, yeah.
And it's less durable. It charges at way slower speeds typically. Like Lightning is just not great anymore. It's also worse for the phone's longevity. I think the way it builds up dust is a little bit worse, though it's easier to clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing, yeah, like you were saying earlier about innovation. I think I would have been more worried about that. Like I don't know, a while ago, right? But now we're looking at it like we're not even close to the peak of USB-C. The closest we've been to the peak of USB-C was, I don't know if you saw the new Thunderbolt standard, USB 4 2.0, and guess how fast that is.
Oh, for Thunderbolt? Oh, yeah, that's...
So USB 4, so Thunderbolt, right, is 40 gigabits
Okay.
per second. So guess
Yeah,
how
that
much
sounds right, yeah.
2.0 is.
2.0, 80 was probably
It's
not.
80.
Or,
Yeah, it's
okay,
80.
good.
It's crazy, right? But there's a caveat. It's
And as
80, but it can
always.
only be done with the active cable. So the cable has to be powered.
Oh, that's okay.
So, like, we're not even close to the peak of USB-C. I mean, we see laptops, I mean, on phones, not on laptops, but like, we see laptops coming out now with USB power delivery 240. So they're getting 240 watts through a USB-C connection. There's so much headroom for USB-C that I don't think I'm too worried about it right now when it comes to like innovation, right?
No, for sure, yeah.
And I didn't know the review thing, so I'm glad you said that. I like that that's in place. I think that's huge.
No, I do hope to. I hope. I'm. I hope laptops also switch over to USB-C.
A lot of them do.
Like, no, it'd be like mine, right? I have like
I think HP's being
the
stubborn about it.
no. HP is just being stupid about it because I have the HP. I have like the HP, like their port, right?
Mm.
I have a USB-C port on my computer. I can also charge my computer with.
Yep.
So I'm like, why not? Like, you give me a 65-watt charger, right? That USB thing does 100. I mean, you can just give me a 65 USB-C charger at the minimum. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
really? That's yeah. I know Dell has
Yeah,
mainly switched over.
yeah, because the power spec for that is 100 watts max, like the actual USB spec for it.
Hmm.
I mean, like that would be nice if it can go up to 240. Like,
Yeah, it has to be
bring
a
one
special,
charger.
like it has
Yeah,
actually hardware to be able to support that. But yeah, you can get a 240 watt USB-C connection.
that
Uh,
would be good.
yeah, but yeah, right now gaming laptops don't yet. But like, I'm pretty sure Lenovo has, Dell has, HP. I'm not sure yet. I know they have on their Spectres at least. I don't know about their Envy still because I haven't really looked into the new Envies that much. They're not exciting. HP's
Envies are
kind of
still,
bungled
I
it
think,
this year.
yeah.
Samsung has, so like most of the laptop manufacturers have switched over. You just happen to be on the one that hasn't.
I know it sucks.
Yeah.
Is what it
Uh,
is.
but yeah, that's a perfect bridge because we're on the best part now, computer hardware, which is the part we really care
Yeah.
about. Now, I will say this section is not going to be too long because we're at the beginning of the juicy computer hardware time of the year or time of the like half decade. This stuff, like this juiciness, where you have graphics cards and CPUs at the same time, only happens every couple of years. So we're getting into the thick of it, but initially Ryzen 7000, uh, a lot of I don't know how do you what's your initial thoughts about Ryzen 7000?
Ryzen 7000, I feel like it it's good, but for gaming, like it is really good, but for gaming, the 5800
X3D.
X3 really
It's a hard value to
overshadowed it.
justify. Yeah,
It is, yeah.
yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
So
yeah. That's also Reddit stuck on that a lot. I feel like they're like, oh, I can just get a 5800. Like it's not that big of a performance. Like there
mhm.
are other aspects besides gaming. I mean, like
There
it
are
does beat the like living out of like Zen 3 stuff if you're not gaming on it. You know
at
what I
the
mean?
top end, it's like 60% faster for
It's
productivity.
actually crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
I want to
Super
see those
hot.
laptops. Yep.
Uh, even though it's super efficient, it's still super hot because they're just pushing so much wattage
Sure.
into it.
Also, the IHS, how thick that is.
Yeah, dude, I'm not a big fan of what they did. Like, here's the thing, right? I get what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? By like making it so you didn't have to pay so much more for a new cooler. But let's
True,
think
but
about
they
it this
should.
way. The entry cost for this platform is already so high, dude. DDR5, these new mother. Did you see like B650? So like the lowest end overclockable boards for a
Yep.
long foreseeable future started getting their prices revealed. Bro, they're lower. The lowest like 189. It's such an expensive platform. Like, and I get why. I really do. But if you're gonna do something, you don't do it halfway. If you could have made that IHS thinner, then go for it. Uh, and then a lot of people are gonna be mad, but eventually that's not gonna become an issue. Especially like, you know, that's what their first generation on this platform, right? It only gets worse from here. Chips ain't getting cooler anytime soon.
That's true.
So that's a big thing. But I did see people say thicker IHS might allow for more 3D V-cache stacking. I don't know if that's really how that works, but if it is, cool. Because as we've seen on the 5800X3D, like you were saying, 3D V-cache is insane for gaming.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
No,
imagine just having RAM on your CPU. It's
if they
so
could
good.
definitely, if they could put more on, plus the IPC that we got this generation,
hmm
that's gonna, they're gonna have. I don't even know if they should come out with 10, like 5 at that point. Like you're not gonna be able to.
For a while, yeah, it's gonna make Zen 5 look bad. Uh, Now here's have you watched the Derbauer video of the D-Lid?
No, but I have read about it a
Do
bit.
you think D-Lidding is going to be more popular than ever this generation?
Probably, but there's that's a good question because you do have those capacitors right there. That I feel like that's gonna sway a lot of
Derbauer's
people.
tool kind of just works though. He made a
That's
specific
true.
tool for it. It like wiggles it back and forth
Already?
slowly. Yeah. You know what's
Damn.
funny? I saw a guy try to do it himself on Reddit with a
Right at the
knife.
capacitor, you
He
wedged it. Yep.
uh he destroyed a 7900X.
I remember that. He was talking. People were like, "You can just solder it back on," and he was just like so defeated. He's like,
It's
I
like
can't even
I'm just gonna
pretend
go buy
anymore."
another.
Yeah,
Dude, what a demon. Like, he couldn't even wait. He just had to go at it
yeah.
with the blade. He couldn't wait for Devour to release it. That's a good man right there.
Oh, did you also see Noctua has come out with like a
That
shield so you
bracket,
don't get thermal
yes.
paste?
I was
Yeah,
actually gonna say that. Yeah, Noctua came out with like it's made out of like a really high heat resistant clear plastic, basically.
yeah.
That if you haven't seen the IHS design for the new CPUs, which is basically the metal heat spreader on top of the chip, it has some weird corners. And they made a bracket that makes it more not weird, so your thermal paste doesn't build up in those weird corners, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's
Um,
cool.
but dude, I'm telling you right now. I mean, you already know I work in SFF, so I can't actually
Yeah.
even justify switching at the moment. But if I do, I am immediately deleting that thing. I don't care about the warranty. Like, if I can get like a 23-degree drop while higher clock speed, yeah, I'm delitting it. Like, it's happening.
It's
I've
crazy. Yeah.
never actually thought about delitting until now. I really haven't. I haven't cared.
Well, I feel like Zen 5, the big performance we're gonna get from that, right, is just gonna be like an IPC
Back down
like
efficiency
improvement,
again.
right? And then yeah, but they have to work on the IHS. They're gonna have to do like what Intel did, or just like do some like figure out some type of like material or something, like redesign the IHS
Dude, they can't
to like.
because they've already committed. They can't change the Z height. Now, if they
I know they
if they
can't.
get the material scientists on the thing, maybe.
That's what. Yeah, that's the only way.
But
I mean, you'd probably see
it's gonna
some
be
good gains
rough.
through there, though.
It's gonna be a rough time. But I mean, a lot of it also comes down to like it's not like entirely the IHS's fault. A lot of it comes down to just the PPO tuning. If you haven't seen like these things, you know how it's like pulling like 225 at the top end for their 16 core
Yeah.
with PBO on,
Mhm.
or PBO2 specifically. If you turn that off and just tune it yourself, you can get like 95% of that performance at like probably like 160 watts. Like they're pushing them
Yep.
to the absolute brink. So this is going to be, and this is weird, right? Because if you remember, and this is something I was super sad about, I don't know if you really cared, how much Ryzen initially since the 3000 series killed overclocking.
It's I used to like it's just different now. I know what you're talking about. Like I had an FX 8350
Hmm.
and holy just like you're just like trying to like break 5 gigahertz with that shit with that
Yeah,
stuff, right? You know what I mean? And then now like it's just like there's no point. There's no point of doing that of an
exactly.
old. I mean, it's obviously just a different art now, but like it just kind of
But like now
not
it's
that it's
kind
like
of
worse
back.
now.
You're not overclocking
Yeah,
now, but you're
it's like an art
undervolting.
now. Yeah.
You're going into that BIOS immediately. And this also makes it why you should not buy a non B series motherboard now, because even if they
That's
release one under
true.
it, you're not going to be able to BIOS tune the thing. They're not going to allow you to. So get yourself a good board and undervolt it. Just take your time, undervolt it, save the world some power, please. You don't need to pull the 225 watts. It doesn't need to happen. But no, I'm pretty excited. By excited, I mean kind of pissed because there's one ITX board at launch and it's not great. Well, no, it's probably the best that there's going to be, but like it's not amazing. Uh, and my current case is the SSE PD Meshalicious. If I were to build a new system, I'd probably go the Meshroom S. But
Right.
overall, I always have built an ITX, so it's becoming a rough world out there for me. uh, Especially the PSUs because graphics cards, but like you see this link in here, this meta review. Open that thing; it's pretty cool.
Okay.
But this guy just basically compiled like a bunch of launch reviews, right?
Sure. Yeah, I've seen
Pretty
this. Yeah.
interesting. Uh, we might link this in description if I remember to, but it's very cool. But moving on, RTX 4000. Uh, Nvidia kind of doing their own thing. Making a 4070, a 4080 somehow magic.
It
Uh,
is true.
but there's not much to say because we're so close to embargo. By next week's episode, we're gonna know everything about the 90. The 80s are actually later, unfortunately. That's so weird. The fact that the 90s alone this year. But yeah, um, the 90s embargo is actually October 11th, so we're getting pretty close.
Right, that's a pretty good topic for next podcast.
You got any initial thoughts? Any initial guesses?
Initial thoughts, not the biggest fan. I know they locked um DLSS 3
Three.
apparently, or DLSS 3, yeah,
Hmm.
is apparently like locked to the 40
Did you
series.
see
Like
why
it's
though?
not coming down.
Their chief like ML engineer came out and explained why. It
I
needed like they actually needed to do it. It was a hardware thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I guess yeah.
no, I
But
understand why it's
we'll
it's
see.
an issue, but I kind of believe him. For once, I kind of believe him though.
We'll see where that gets
I'm
us.
worried because they're rendering whole new frames with it, and
I did
nobody's
see,
been
yeah.
talking about latency. I'm wondering what latency
I
it will
think I
get.
think it does. It's a decent amount of latency impact.
But the thing is,
But
they always show it with that plus NVIDIA Reflex, and Reflex cuts your
oh
latency
yeah,
so low, so I think you'll offset just fine. And I
that's true.
don't think it will be an issue because, from what I understand, just not even knowing anything, Reflex is so much easier to add than DLSS 3.0 to a game, right? So why would you add DLSS 3.0 and not Reflex? So I don't think we're gonna have an issue with latency. I think it's a weird tech. There was some leaks, mainly by the goat of leaking, Moore's Law is dead, right? That there's
Yes, sir.
potentially some issues with motion interpolation on DLSS 3.0 when things are not moving at like a constant straight line, which is why all the stuff we've seen so far are
Yeah.
constant straight lines. And that's another issue with rendering whole new frames. So I'm very excited to see what this leads. The joke about the 4070 earlier, there's another link that if I remember to post, I'll post, but it's like another Reddit thread, but it shows basically like die size versus older generations, but it's to the ratio of the complete 102 die. So you know how like 102 is always their highest end die. So like the 90 or the 80 Ti will always be 102.
Yeah.
So the max amount of transistors, and it shows the ratio of that for each of them. It's such a small die size, which I think is kind of crazy. It's obviously that this was supposed to be a 4070, but it is what it is. So, you know, hopefully Nvidia does not make a habit of this, because I don't know about you, but I think $899 for a 470 is too expensive.
It's actually crazy. It's criminal.
It is criminal.
Because they also said, was it? Oh my God! They said what? They're not like the cheaper GPU prices are like over. Like they're not coming back. Someone said that. Someone on Nvidia's team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was Jensen. It wasn't Nvidia's team. It was Nvidia.
The true jacket man, indeed.
Did you know Jensen only owns 3% of 3.6% of Nvidia now, which is crazy.
Him and Lisa Su are also related.
That's got to be like a crazy Christmas. Like, bro, how close related are we talking?
Oh, I'm like first. It's
like,
even
dude,
like on Google.
If they talk to each other, that's gotta be so weird. Like, but dude, the SEC's got to investigate. I'm just kidding. SEC's got to investigate that. No, but oh shoot, I completely lost my train of thought.
I'll fill this in right here. Lisa's grandfather is Jensen's uncle.
Oh, that's like not that far apart. Holy God. Something needs to be done, bro. No wonder AMD was so bad. Like, at least it probably got the family trade secrets. That's how Radeon got revived. You thought that RX 5700 XT was just good because of new engineering? Nah, bro. She just went over, asked what, like her uncle or great uncle.
What's up, dog? Yeah.
Yo, let me get some of that. That's outrageous, dude. It's so funny because the companies have like complete opposite philosophies at the moment too. But yeah, that's actually a hilarious fun fact. Like if I cared enough, I'd make a funny thumbnail out of that, but I don't. But yeah, let's see here. So compared to the full 80-102, so Ada Lovelace 102, which is the current dies, the 4080 12 gig is 41.7% full. 41.7. Do you understand how small that is? That is less than the 3060 Ti compared to the GA 102. That is insane. And even the real 4080, 16 gig, 50% full. You know what last year's 3080 was? 81% full.
That's actually insane.
Now, I hope people don't do this. Don't misconstrue this as there's less processing units. There's not. There's still more CUDA cores than before, right? Mm-hmm. It's just that the top end got so much better. And this is a good and a bad thing because it makes us feel like we're not getting what we paid for, especially when prices are so high.
Yeah.
But it also means that, like, unlike last year, it's looking like the 4090 will actually be better at gaming. Because last year, the 3090 and the 3080 and especially 3080 Ti were essentially the same in every way. So, in gaming purposes, obviously, not in anything else. The 3090 kind of stomped a lot of things because it's huge amount of memory. But in gaming, it wasn't actually any faster than the 3080 most of the time. So, and this year it's not like that. Like the 4090 this year, the initial one, is 88.9% full. So it's not as full as last year, but it has a whole lot more transistors and CUDA cores than the others. So that's pretty interesting. But it also means, unlike last year, the 4090 and the 4090 Ti will be different. Last year they were again very similar. It was about like a 3% like CUDA core jump. This year it's going to be like a 12%. So it's going to be interesting to see that rumored 600 watt behemoth of a card.
It's actually going to be insane.
With potentially 48 gigabytes of GDDR6X. That's God. It's such a weird time to be alive. How have they gotten away with this, dude? Like Moore's Law is Dead was leaking it a lot. I'm a huge fan of him, but like he was talking about how this generation is going to be way smaller dies, but they're just pumping so much wattage into them, and the clock speeds are going to be so high, which is right. I mean, their clock speeds are like 500 megahertz higher easily than last generation. So, like, I don't know about you, but like 2.5 out of the box is kind of crazy.
No, for sure.
I'm excited to see what AMD will do, because they were a bit higher last gen, weren't they?
They are. I think we're almost at 3.
Yeah. In NVIDIA's labs, they were getting theirs to 3, so AMD might actually hit 3 on launch.
Okay, yeah,
when is launch? Crazy. Launch is coming up, isn't it?
October something. Yeah, you are right. Virginia 3. Let's see.
We're gonna have to live coverage of that question mark. Oh, November 3rd.
Oh, is it November 3rd?
Yeah, about a month.
Okay.
So that's interesting. But yeah, like again, next show is basically going to be all RTX 4000, I assume, if we're really honest. Because graphics card launches are huge. Like they're the biggest thing that can happen in computer hardware, quite frankly. So next show is probably going to be entirely that. Intel 13th gen looking pretty great. Memory speeds are getting really fast on them. Like Intel's gotten DDR5 7600 XMP certified. Which is that's so fast. Like it's like mind-blowing fast. But I think Intel has done a great job with their current platform, because they've made it a cheaper entry. It's actually a really cheap entry if you think about it.
Intel's definitely like the budget, like the budget move. This
this year.
Okay, yeah, this year. My bad. And so we'll see. Yeah, AMD's definitely got to do something if they want like still keep that like budget crown.
I don't think they can. I mean, they've met their bid. And you know what? It's gonna feel like an L in the beginning, but the more people that get these boards, and so like say, I'm assuming AMD is gonna have pretty good backwards compatibility for at least 3 or 4 years for the boards. I don't think it'll be as long as before, because we saw with Threadripper that they just kind of lied with how long it'd be there. But I think when these boards come out, like the high ends are going to start selling their old X670E boards to go to like X760E, or is that the wrong way around? No, it'd be 770E. So like you're going to see some boards trickle down, and hopefully AMD's price to entry gets better. But I think a lot of people I know as gamers, a lot of people underestimate how important it is to hold the high end, the crown.
It definitely is. That's also where you make it the most
just
money.
For brand image, for margins, correct. And for a lot of things. Like when you think Intel, you think fast, right? And obviously that's changed now. But there was at times, like even with Ryzen 3000, where a lot of people are still like Intel only because they held the high end, but they wouldn't be buying the high end processor. But like your high end kind of like it's a Halo product. It really does shine
It
on your
is,
whole
yeah.
brand. So I think AMD's got to hold that strong, and then hopefully stuff trickles down. They've built a pretty solid
Yeah.
following over the last couple of years, so I don't think they're going to suffer too much, even though they missed Q3 sales by a lot. Overall, Intel 13 gen is going to be pretty interesting because of its barrier to cost entry. Arc, Enigma, please buy it so Arc doesn't disappear.
I know Arc needs to stay. Like, we
They did a
definitely need the
great
third
job for the
GPU.
first time. As many hardware issues there is, like you can't imagine anyone doing any better their first time. You really can't. AV1 encoding and decoding.
Big, yeah.
Really good DX12 performance. All right, DX11. Really bad everything else. So it's kind of really weird. They also do better at higher resolution sometimes because they're scaling. It's an interesting thing, but I think like you give Arc a little bit of time. Not this generation. This generation, there's actual hardware flaws. But like you give Intel some time, they're gonna actually compete well. Like you see some of their features are starting to already beat AMD and compete with Nvidia. They were doing really, really good with their DLSS competitor XeSS sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing better at ray tracing than AMD against like the 6600 XT. So I think this is something where there's a strong chance that Arc goes away because it's been such a sunk cost.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm worried about. Yeah.
But I'd love to see it stay. They're also very efficient, which is leading us into our next thing. ATX 3.0 power supplies. Are you gonna get one?
Probably. For now, nah.
Nah. Are
Probably
you
like the
gonna
next.
upgrade your GPU like ever? You're still on a
Eventually,
580, isn't it?
I
Like
am a 580. That is true.
there's just finer things in life, dude.
There are finer things. The problem is I'm only back for like a month. I'm like,
Oh, same with me, but like
CS:GO will survive. CS:GO will survive on just upgrading the CPU.
that is the only game we play. So, but I don't know. I feel like I know there's a lot of controversy over this new connector. I'm gonna give it time, see how it is, but I'm not very happy at what's come out so far about it when it comes to longevity. I do like there's communication pins though. I think that's huge with how much watts these things are pulling. Having communication pins can be really nice. There's literally no SFX ones because who cares about us guys? But there's SFXL ones. So have you seen the RG Loki?
Yeah, I've heard of it before. Yep.
It's a SFXL ATX 3.0 power supply, and the highest end one, if it ever comes out, the other models are coming out like pretty soon. The highest end one is going to be 1200 watts titanium certified.
Damn, that's actually.
I am going to get that thing. If I upgrade my PC, I'm not kidding, I will get that. I will have just so much headroom. Because, I'm undervolting. Like, we're going to get this PC running under, like, 700 watts. I am going to have so much headroom. What were you going to say?
Do you think we're going to get another level above titanium, or do you think titanium's like the limit here on PSUs?
Titanium's, like, very efficient. I don't think there's... Like, obviously, I don't know. But, like, if I had to guess, it would be easier to transition the industry towards ATX 12.0 only to get more efficiency. Because ATX 12.0 only is more efficient, especially in idle. So in that low-end idle power consumption, it's a lot more efficient, which is why it became a thing, because California is really big on pushing that low-end idle power consumption coming down. If I think it'd be easier for them to find a way to do that than like going to Japan or something and figuring out how to make better capacitors. Like, quite frankly, I really think it would be pushing towards 12.0 only. I don't know about you.
No, it's definitely I feel 12-volt standard is definitely like a priority move, right? The problem is
Hmm.
then we're also like you're also shifting costs to the motherboard,
Yep, that's true.
right?
And the thing is, you
But
already
then I
know
feel
power
like
supply prices won't go down, so you're just increasing costs.
that's
There's no
true.
shifting.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting.
we'll see what it does. Yeah, I'm really not that certain. I don't know how the market's gonna react to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But, like I definitely I want the 10 pin connector, not the 24 pin. You know what I mean? Like for the motherboard.
Hmm.
Like the slimming down of the pins and stuff is gonna actually be crazy.
Yep. Yep.
So
Especially for
we'll see
me,
how it
because
goes.
again, I use SFX.
Mm.
Uh, and I also don't use like hard drives or SSDs. I only use M.2. So I would not have to break out anything. I would just plug in my EPS, plug in that, plug in my GPU, just like now,
Yep.
except there's less pins and we're golden. Like it would be
That's
so
true. Yep.
nice for me. Uh, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Especially with how have you seen how cramped these current AMD motherboards are? I mean, for God's sakes, they took the audio, like they took the DAC off of the ITX X670 from Asus. Like they just took the DAC off. Like
It's
these motherboards are getting so cramped, especially on the new AMD platform. That
no.
do they have space to properly step down power?
That's um, AMD definitely should have just let Intel have the DDR5 like crown this gen, then a refresh on Zen 4, right? And just have like and just release Zen 5 on like a more mature platform later. You know what I mean? Like
But
there's
isn't a
so
big
many.
part? Couldn't a big part of the current gains be DDR5 for the Infinity Fabric?
No, I feel like it definitely is like the gains in DDR5. Like I've seen gains like when you're playing a Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the ray tracing gains come from DDR5. Like,
Being able to access
but
that
then,
memory super fast.
like the CPU being able to just actually like process those like ray tracing calls,
Okay,
like really does benefit better. But like, it's just like the price of an AMD system right now
it's too
is
expensive.
just absurd. It
But
is,
they're
yeah.
also like not killing the old gen completely.
No, I know they
So
said
people
Zen
have
4 is gonna
somewhere to
stay for many
go.
years. That's true, but I mean, when you're talking about like the new generation, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, Zen 4 is still here," or Zen 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Like AM4 still here. Like that's they definitely should just like I felt like a refresh should have happened on Zen 3, right?
Hmm.
Maybe like a tweaked socket if you wanted. Actually, like you know what I mean? Like make it not need a fan. Like actually like come out with like a second
Do
revision
the
of the
new ones have a
X670.
fan? Oh, for
X570. I don't think so.
X570,
Or five.
gotcha.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I know they had like the
Hmm.
E versions, but I'm guarantee you those should binned from manufacturers. Like come out with a
Hmm.
better version of X570. Like shrink the die or something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
dude,
the heat
I
is better.
literally switched off X570 to B550 because of that.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying. Yeah. Like you should have just done reduced node size X570, like better efficiency.
mhm.
Maybe AM3
Also,
plus.
didn't a lot of
Yeah,
B550 boards have better memory controllers than X570 boards
I think so because of the pathway.
because of
Yeah,
the
the way the
pathway? Well, it's because they came out at different B550 came out so much later that newer
that's
memory
true. Yeah,
controllers were out by then, which is a big thing because like memory on Ryzen is so much better than it ever has been. But like
that's true. It's also
it's
more
it's still
important. I know it
not
decreases every
great.
time, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like on the new
It's not.
gen it's just gonna be perfectly fine, especially with their what are they calling their XMP alternative?
Don't know. 3. I know that we're on 3 though. I know that for a fact.
No, they made their own version. They don't use
I know.
XMP
Yeah.
anymore. But like, yeah, uh, this like it's huge. Like having that much repertoire to get their own alternative.
No, yeah. It's definitely because I know they used to just convert the XMP profile, and obviously that just led
Oh,
to
it's
just worse
AMP
timings. AMP. That's fantastic.
amp. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting. You know, hopefully the roadmap stays clear and we're able to get these 3D Vcache variants of Ryzen 7000 out like early next year. I feel like that would be the one thing that would make people like okay with investing in the platform, because what we've seen, right, is the improvement over generations for gamers is not as big as just slapping some more Vcash on that boy. Like, you slap some more Vcash on there, we're golden. So I think them doing that will get a lot of people to upgrade, because then they're like, okay, in a year when these boards might be cheaper, I'm not just like, oh, I should have waited, because I'll still have the fastest gaming processor. And I hope Vcash comes down to the 600. I think a 7600X 3D would be potentially like the most gaming focused CPU I've ever seen. Like, it would be just so laser focused for gaming, because the fact that that thing competes with a 12900K is outrageous, and adding Vcache on that is going to make that gap so big. Like, the difference between a 5800 and a 5800 X3D is outrageously big. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. That's speaking of, like, there's not many things left, but there's one thing I do want you to click on. You see this link of this XMG link? Yep. So XMG, which, if you guys don't know, is one of the coolest companies in the world, because they make extremely weird and high-end laptops, but they're the one of the few companies that go, we don't care what you do with it after you get it. Everything's unlocked. You can mess with power tables. You can do whatever you want. They made a laptop with a full AM4 motherboard in it that it just has a 5800 X3D. Like, what? That is crazy. And you know what's even crazier about this fact, right? The 5800 X3D, you can barely mess with the power tables. You can't undervolt it that much. So they're cooling that thing it's a thick laptop, but still.
Yep.
Imagine someone pulling up to one of your classes in one of these. Like, that man means business. Especially if he gets the variant with a 5950X. He's pulling up with a 16-core desktop chip in your laptop, bro. You might as well drop the class. You're not going to compete. He's literally built different. So, again, I will maybe remember to put this link in the description. Probably won't. Especially if you don't subscribe. I will not put in the description specifically for you.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. In other news, Steam Deck caught up to the queue. It's not that interesting. We know everything about the Steam Deck, but if you want one, you can just go get one now. Well, not go get
Steam
one,
Deck
but it's not going to be months.
Yep.
Really? That's crazy. There's a dock for it now. An LG Display is starting production of 27 and 32-inch monitors. I know a lot about displays. I'm going to get into that next time, maybe a bit more. But that's a big thing for you PC gamers out there, because we've already seen how good OLED is for gaming. The fact that they're coming to 27-inch, which is the most popular monitor size, is huge. So hopefully they do that, and then hopefully they don't keep it at the 4K resolution. If they could step that down, make a more gaming-focused display, crank that refresh rate up, that can be huge. But, it's pretty much up for today. Pretty long podcast. Maybe going to cut it up and post on another channel. We'll see. Overall, if you're one of the 5 people that watches this that's not related to us, if you could leave something down in the description of what we should do to make it better. Video might come soon. We'll see. Or at least maybe some editing to put whatever we're looking at. Links wise or data wise on the screen. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got any final thoughts?
Nope. Pretty good return to the podcast, I think. Like login info we talked about today.
Yep, we're going to be ending this in 3 episodes like the last series. But don't worry, guys. It'll be a fun 3. All right, see ya.